Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching and the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. And we are moving into the month of April 1984 with the World Class Review Series. April 7th, 1984 is our episode for this moment. And lots of new faces, or newer faces anyway, as we move through harder into the springtime. And although we do continue to see, longer than I thought actually, the Freebirds Von Erich feud continue. We do open with some relatively new faces, Chick Donovan and Johnny Mantell. Mantell's been here on and off since the beginning of our journey in 1982. Donovan, kind of a bit of a heartthrob type character, which Texas goes through a bit of those. There's just there seems to be a formula. There's always at least one heartthrob, if not more than one. We're going to see the debut of another mainstay in world class within less than a month here. But, very basic match, simple match. Donovan, a guy they're looking to get something out of, I think, although I don't know. And just to be fair, I'm up to September in my viewing, and many of those episodes going up today and tomorrow. But regardless to say, I don't know that they get as much out of Donovan as they wanted. He is much more the classic style wrestler. This is a match that if you are an independent wrestler and you want to look at working holds and you want to look at getting the most out of the least, and I think that's a lost art in today's wrestling. I think, in a spot mentality, getting something out of traditional holds, hammerlocks, and arm bars and the like, and then moving quickly through is a lost art. I think the holds need to change. I think they need to be updated to a more MMA style, but also I think we can get more out of holds. Pick it up and then slow it down, and pick it up and slow it down. And Donovan and Mantell do a really good job of that here in 1984, and I think even today, if we had a time machine and we put them in today's product, I think they would do just as well, because they both have a clear understanding of what it takes to get the most out of each move or sequence of moves. Donovan, obviously your heel. Mantell, your babyface, who has been here a while. And it's also clear throughout things that when they go to the time limit draw, which is where they end, there's respect with both, and both of them gain from the match. And I think time limit draw is another underused thing in current times. Something like AEW is using them a bit. I think independents could use them more. We can move into match number 2, another squash-style match. Definitely much more squash than the previous bout, as Super Destroyer number 1 versus Mike Reed. Reed, a perennial enhancement talent here in Texas for the last several months. And the Destroyer, who is one of the Irwin brothers, which will eventually be revealed here, using a lot of just, punch over the referee's shoulder, that type of thing. So there's cheating, and it gets easy heat. Skandar Akbar out there with his charges, the Super Destroyers, and it's very clear that the Destroyers are, at this time, on and off again, American Tag Team Champions, but also big impact when they do decide to do big impact moves. Superplex, the finish of the Destroyers, and win there. We go to an interview, a rare interview these days, with Skandar Akbar. Akbar talks about two things: the return of Andre the Giant, which he's not happy about. Andre the Giant, of course, embarrassing the Destroyers a few weeks back, with Iceman King Parsons as his partner. Parsons, who really has been here almost the entire run, so going on, 2 full years, or thereabouts, of world class, which is rare in this area to see a guy who is not a Von Erich, who's got a permanent position. And then he talks about the return of Kabuki, or the announcer tries to get him to talk about the return of Kabuki. That doesn't go very well, as he does not want to discuss this. We later find out why in weeks to come, but suffice to say he dodges that question completely. And then we move into our semi-main event, Kelly Kiniski, who is going further here in Texas than I imagined he would originally, facing off against Kevin Von Erich. Von Erich, obviously the oldest of the Von Erich boys, and perhaps the most consistent in terms of just as much as he had his own issues too. Kevin in the ring, I think, is the guy who gets the most out of simple matches, and I think he does more holds than his brothers do or did. David being the exception, but with David having passed away very recently. Actually, that's the reason for the upcoming Texas Stadium show that we are, moving toward. But anyway, very basic match. David does Kevin uses a lot of just speed and goes for the body scissors. Body scissors seems to be a big thing for him. Kiniski is leaning on him a lot with a reverse chinlock, headlock type maneuver. That is a way to slow the match down, but also a way to get heat with the fans. The fans here, 1984, still not, terribly bored when they see holds. Actually, as I do the old school review, I'm curious when that died. Was that 94? Is it 10 years later? What is that? But a big splash for Kevin gets him a near fall, and he comes up again and is able to use a snapmare later in the match, and uses everything he can. Kevin does get his victory, a drop kick into the buckle, and then a roll up gets him a pinfall victory. 6-man World Tag Team Championships up next as the Freebirds, Roberts, Hayes, and Gordy, face off against the members of Devastation Incorporated. Skandor Akbar managing, and that is Kamala, and I believe both Super Destroyers are part of that, even though we've already seen them in the program. I could be wrong about that. Let me go back and check really quickly here. But Kamala, the main entry into that, and Kamala's the I guess the main guy. Now the spoiler in there too. Or actually the second Destroyer and the Missing Link. So Destroyer number 2, Kamala, and the Missing Link are this particular version of Devastation Incorporated. This is not the only time they face the Freebirds, and they do use a lot of different combinations, so it's hard to remember. But anyway, so Gordy and the Destroyer of the Moment are squaring off early. Freebirds are the baby faces here, more by default. They do not stay baby faces, so we cannot rejoice completely, but, obviously Michael Hayes and Kamala squaring off is a bit interesting. The Missing Link is a bit of a fireball throughout this, and you do see a lot of multi-persons in the ring, a lot of chaos in this match. Buddy Roberts doesn't do as well with the Destroyer, gets pushed back into the corner of the, I guess you'd say, challengers in this moment. Nice side suplex on Roberts. Roberts is the guy in the Freebirds. If you're expecting someone to take punishment, it's usually Roberts. Interesting that the atomic drop battle seems to persist. Hot tag off to Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Easy for me to say. Gordy is obviously as the largest Freebird. If there's going to be a Freebird to clean house, it's usually Gordy. Gordy and Kamala does break down. Kamala still protected and looking strong. We still have yet to see. I mean, I know Kamala took the. Kamala does take the. Claw a couple of times already here, but there's not really a lot of that. A miscue between the Missing Link and the Destroyer leads to a victory and the retention of the belts for the Freebirds, and that will close this week's episode. or this particular episode, but we'll be back with more. Stay right here. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.